All right, we're going to begin taking gravity off the spine. So I was studying, of course, I always try to get my book out and try to work with what are we doing today with the opening of the chest and the rib cage. So I want us to kind of surrender to the props and take gravity off the spine. So we're going to start. We've got our bolster lengthwise on the mat. If you have a modification you need for this pose, you can take that. But if you feel like this isn't going to work for me from the get-go, you can flow into it how it works. I got a blanket in a, pretty low height back here, but you need something that you can trust that your head can land on. You're going to sit on the short end of the bolster like you're getting on a sled. Okay. You got a belt that's connected in a big loop. Okay, that's important. Have that off to the side. It's connected. You want it buckled up. You got a sandbag, and you're going to put your feet on the other side of a rolled up blanket. Okay, so I put my feet on the other side so that I kind of push the blanket into my kind of the Achilles tendon here. So I just kind of push it. It's no guarantee it's going to stay. That's just life. There's no guarantee. So you might go, oh, goody. I got the blanket there, and then you roll back and off it goes. Okay. The key is to sit on the very edge of the bolster, especially for anyone taller than me. Just everybody. Okay. Now, as I lower down, okay, that way the blanket's under my calves, right? And I lower down, and I want to lower back so that my C7, right, and the shoulders, right, are off the floor. This is key. So the base of your neck is C7. So I want you to have that off the floor. So it's going to feel a little bit weird to get the ribs and the chest this much of a stretch. Okay, it's okay if your head is on the blanket. That's key. You want your head, your skull completely on the blanket. But there's a little curve at the neck. Okay, now if you feel like, well, I kind of got here, but everything needs to get changed, my clothes, everything, take the time. If you need to come back up and reset things so it feels better, do it. Okay, but be careful, right? Because you don't want to overly press your abdominal muscles by trying to push yourself into a sit-up. So I would say kind of shift a little bit with your hips, and you're lifting up into this back bend. And then if you have a sandbag, you're going to add that either across the thigh lids, or if you're in it, and some people take different shapes to open up their practice. They have different things that help them. You could have your sand from the heart to the belly. I'm going to recommend either diaphragm, so below the rib area, right below the ribs, you can place it there, or at the thigh lids. And if this is too much for your back to begin, you could definitely have your knees bending, okay? You can even put your foot on the blanket roll so the foot is flexed. I kind of like that. That's kind of nice. And be without the sand. It's up to you. All right. So if you decide I'm going to do something a little different, my back is just not quite ready, you can have your feet kind of flexed up on the blanket roll. And then you want to get your arms so that you can feel how shoulders relate to the arms opening the chest. So this is why I love the bolster like this. This is one of my favorite poses, although I find it challenging to get into, for the benefit I get in my breathing muscles and the inversion and the circulation benefits overall. So the legs are supported right now by the blanket. You can let your arms rest open or down by the sides. Okay. We used to teach this with the arms only down by the sides, but now, right, there's definitely some evidence, we've lived in the same body all this time, right, that we have the arms opening straight out to the side, as long as you're not pinching your shoulders up to your ears. Okay, so you've got to find that chest opening quality. And then begin that flow of breathing through the nose and relaxing out through either the nose or the mouth. But if you can stay with nose breathing as often as possible, this is a great practice time to just say, I'm going to focus on breathing through my nose as much as I can this whole time. There'll be moments when you don't, right? But feel what it's like to get that coordination and build that endurance, right, for the heart, for the respiratory muscles. And just feel the shoulders back and relaxing. Tracing the outline, how gravity flows through these centerpieces of the body. It's like we're putting up the centerpiece, right? The pelvis, the abdominals, the ribs, the vulnerable stuff in our body, right? That we often round into, and we get used to that feeling good. And then it causes, some postural, some negative postural repercussions. So feel when your shoulders are back, what's good about this circulation wise, even if it's just that you're not rounding your back. Let's take just a few more moments here. Now, as we shift into figure 4, I want you to give that a try. So you've got this reach of your anti-gravity muscles, right? They're getting a little bit more open in the front body, strong in the back body. So there's kind of a give and take, right? One side, which doesn't necessarily like this full reach, has to be vulnerable. So when I walk my feet in, my knees pointing up, I'm going to move the sand aside and take the right foot up and cross it to the left knee and just let the right knee point out. Okay, now I've been playing with using the ball behind the knee for all kinds of things lately. And some people are working on ball behind the knee on this shape. I'm not so sure I'm thinking that's the greatest move, but you can always try things. But as the knee points away, notice if the energy is squeezing behind the knee, or if you can bring emphasis to just the bony parts in circulation. So my knee points out, that flushes from my knee down through the hip, into the hip, through the femur to the hip. And you could put your left foot up on the bolster, okay? Some of us might even bring the knees in. I'm just going to stay with the foot on the floor. I don't want to pull anything or pinch any nerves, or just trying to feel what's available to continue to open up the chest. And at some point, it'll kind of go, okay, I give up. I'm going to stay opening and releasing. It might take 5 minutes, 10 minutes for the chest area to feel like I can do this inversion work. Okay. Now, switch sides. So right foot lowers down, left foot lifts, left leg lifts, cross the left foot to the right knee. Let the knee rest out. Okay. And then as that left foot is flexing, maybe you don't flex it so much, but flexing the foot in this position is a little more protective for your knee. Okay. So you don't want to sickle the foot or point the foot and cause undue pressure, but one side you might feel more than the other in the hip. Part of it's where we have pressure in the back right now that's continuing in through the nerves. So we're going to start to shift that circulation in just a few moments. Change it up. Okay. All right. Now, as we feel where the hip wakes up, we're going to bring the left knee to point back center and walk your feet a little bit wider than the bolster. Make sure the blanket under your head is at the lowest height and it's not under your neck. And you're going to slide back. So now you're going to go, oh, now my neck is going up the blanket. So move the blanket back so it's, again, still under your head, not the neck. And you're going to slide so that you can move the bolster. I would be very careful here. Just push the bolster over to the left or the right, and then push the bolster up to the back of the pelvis, and then bring your feet up, and voila, that just feels so much better. Okay, part of this is we're trying to get some pull through the QL. So let's take the ball, okay, place it center of the knees and go side to side. So when we were in that supported bridge pose a few moments ago, and you're out, okay, one of my purpose, which is we haven't done it for a while, so I think if you take a lot of time out from that, like 2 months or so, and it's kind of hard to get the QL that's stretched back into it. But when we're on our back, I do want you to kind of get this side, the lower quadrant of the back of the waist, kidney area, to get that little bit of circulation there. So that was one of my hopes there. And it might be bothersome if you don't do it for a while and then add it again. So knees side to side, you can make the blanket higher. I won't go too high with it, but if you feel like there's not a proportional support right now for your spine, maybe curling it up a little bit could help. So just go side to side. Find now the support of the bolster. Like, are you on it where it feels supportive? Like if you need to push the bolster down or a little bit up, it's usually you need to move it a little bit up generally. And then give yourself some moments where you just let the knees go to the side and the waist stretches, okay? That low back waistline that was just kind of tugged on in the kidneys is getting a reach, a crossover, a twist, okay? So, be a little spontaneous, whether you lean to the side and you stretch your arms open, or you lean the knees to the side and you have your arms closer into the bolster, or even the hands holding onto the ribs and feeling the dynamic of the ribs moving. I don't want the ribs to stay still. We want them to move with anything that we're twisting, right? So don't isolate that the hips are the only movers. It's the ribs too. Let's take a moment where we place the ball to the back of a knee, one knee at a time. Bring the left knee in and put the right foot on the floor, knee pointing up. Place the ball behind the left knee. Make sure it's a soft ball. So if you have a tennis ball, don't use that behind the knee. Something soft. So I just try to push it a little bit in and then let my leg curl around it. I always find this one interesting because it does bring and manifests some hamstring awareness, but it's pushing into it at the attachment here, okay? Now, just circle from the leg moving, from the bent leg, circling and massaging into the hip, okay, with movement. Not necessarily hands on hip or sandbag on hip. We'll get there. But feel some alternating motions when the leg circles out and the leg circles in. And the other leg kind of goes along for the ride. The foot is on the floor, but you might move the knee so it actually moves as well. It kind of rocks, okay? It's pretty therapeutic, right? If you find the right way of moving this range in the hip, on the hip range, okay? All right, now feel as the knee draws to the right, we got the ball behind the left knee goes to the right. Try to keep the legs in this kind of dynamic where they're not touching, right? But the hip is in motion. Draw it over. You're trying to keep the ball behind the knee. Okay, and then come back center. And we're just going to switch. So you might shake out both legs and feel both legs upside down. You might rock a little bit on your bolster to get more attached. And then left foot down and ball behind the right knee. Careful, right? Push the ball in. And if you have a clicky hip, that's not completely abnormal in this one. I would say try to keep it more central instead of trying to do any, proving any flexibility upon yourself. Yeah, you live in your body for a while and go, I'm not trying to prove anything. I just want to keep this situation stable. So when I'm moving, there is motion. What I'm learning with this is from Feldenkrais work. Let the opposite leg move a little bit instead of keeping it still, okay? So kind of feel, how do you get that rhythm, that little bit of vibration moving in the pelvis, okay? This side doesn't go as high up and in for me. And then moving at the other direction, okay? So the bottom leg, right, is possibly moving a little bit. It's not going to be completely still, or it's not going to be straight leg straight down, okay? Take a few moments, okay? And you might end up drawing the right leg over to the left and go, different side, likely some interesting minute differences in the sensation of the hip that you're like, I didn't know that was there. Maybe it's the groin, pelvic floor. You might just feel some differences in circulation. I like this because the back of the knee, right? So that's one of the main 6 lymph points. So this is an area, the popliteal, we don't get this a lot of touch, right? In fact, we avoid it, right? No one's going to push something behind their knee. That's not a very good thing to do. But the ball is a nice, broad, consistent pressure into the back of the knee, massaging it a little bit just by the squeezing. Okay. Now, as you come back to center, let's take the ball out, although it's kind of nice to use, and just let the knees rock side to side and find your belt. And as you grab a hold of that, you're going to make sure that it's connected. It's a big loop. It's probably too generous. Make sure that you have something under your head. If this is not enough height, fold it once more and bring it in. Right? This is probably a good one to have a measure of a little lift for, so the cervicals have a nice curve here, and then the lower back has a big curve, right? So those 2 different curve points are kind of fascinating on this one. Just do this for a while and you'll start to figure it out. Okay, so take the belt to your feet and then legs up and be able to handle where the buckle is to loosen it up or tighten it or make it smaller. Okay, yeah, be realistic. Leg float. So I've got my feet out in the belt and I'm going to be realistic here. This is too much, so I'm going to cinch it up and then it's just not too wide. Okay. So purpose being, we're going to soften a little bit at the knees and just drain out. A little bit of leg drain out. Okay, now the arms could be open. Okay, I think today this feels right for me. Other days it might be goalpost. It might be arms straight back. So and maybe your hands are on the lumbar lymph nodes here. Maybe this is where you have your hands and you're feeling the breath. Right? You could even reach your elbows down on the bolster. So I'd like to try to sort out where am I right now, because I'm in a new shape right now, and it has different benefit, different circulation, channels in the body. So see if you can arrive, and you don't have to have the loop really wide. You can shrink it and have the feet really close to each other, and you're still going to get that benefit. Okay? If you're shaky, bring them in. But let them be held by the belt. So as you close your eyes, arms are where they're comfortable for you. Just gather your attention on the even rhythm of your breath. And then change any props around if you need to. If you need to get rid of the bolster, carefully do so. You can come back in this pose without a bolster. You could have something smaller like a blanket under your pelvis. So as the ribs expand, right, there's a relative expansion that I feel on the exhale in the back along the spine. So, and you can kind of be creative with that, especially having lived in a body for a bit, just go, okay, this has a lot of benefits, and where can I feel that circulation in my body? And if there's something a little bit upset or just not feeling right or a part of the shoulder, do those things you need to do. Give yourself a big hug, stretch the arms, shrug the shoulders. Continue to receive that inversion. So reversing the gravitational pull on the legs and the hips and the organs. Feel in the throat, the face. So much more circulation now that we've been upside down for a bit. More fluid, more reverse flow. It's so nice to get that in the face in the throat area. Okay, now we're going to bring the knees to bending, and as you reach up to the belt, just pull. Might take a moment to get that, and then slide the feet together and lower the left leg down, and kind of feel this the lever of movement. So these are your extremities, right? Your levers, the levers out of the middle. And when I hold, I kind of want to be sometimes just in the moment of, okay, my leg is upside down. Okay, the bottom leg to me is the most intriguing on this one. Okay, this is kind of general hamstring awareness here. But let's take the sand and place it on the top of the left thigh. And if you don't want to sand, that's okay. It's no big deal. It's fine if you don't. But it can be, a nice kind of grounding and traction. Now, I happen to have the blanket under my left lower leg part. Okay, you can go minus the blanket. Some people are not a fan of that. So when you have that left leg extending, feel the abdomen move with the breath. So this area doesn't get startled and stop, right? It keeps flowing. And then you get to choose. Do you want to hold onto the belt, or do you want to make the loop a little bit wider? And you can hold onto it with the thumbs and the index and stretch overhead, right? Or you can take the belt, big loop, behind the center of the back of your head. Center to the top back area. So it's not always right at the occiput. It's a little bit higher for me. Okay, because I've got a it's pretty round and kind of pokes back. So some of us it's a little more flat. So we might find we have to have it lower, but don't put it around your neck. Some of it is the flexibility that you're lifting into. So don't feel like you have to, crunch your chin to your chest. Just let your head relax back in the belt, even placing your hands at the kind of the nape of the neck, and just let that relax back to the point that you might be on your blanket. Okay. So now I'm kind of set almost to my blanket, and that feels good. So you might have to make the belt looser, tighter, and feeling where the restriction is. There is energy flowing. One side, right, it's reversing the flow. One side, it's extending down and flowing towards my knee. So maybe closing your eyes and brain float. Just feel your head lean back into the belt. Okay, now are you tightening above the knee, like contracting, or can you relax? So you can do a little bend of the knee. I would highly recommend a little micro bend of the right knee, but just see how that flows at the back of the leg. The front of the leg might be your mystery sensation, like you don't quite tap into that right now, and that's okay. Right? Your feet get stepped on a lot. I'm sure this area feels awareness much of the moving day. Okay, now let your head drop back as much as you can. And then take the sand across the belly and shift sides. So the left leg goes up. You might hold your back of your head, so you hold the belt to it. And then I would say keep the same length and width of your loop. Don't change it in the beginning. And just see if you can compare side one to side two and see if, and maybe the side, it's different. Sometimes it changes over the phase of the stretch. So last side it probably developed into a current of energy. But now, as you switch sides, sand on the top of the right thigh, let your head lower down into that belt. It's already in it. And then feeling, that shift of circulation in the leg, in the feet. Maybe your head lifts up a little more on this side naturally. So see if you can find a way to create what you remember as balance, like how far back did your head lower? Maybe it didn't. Maybe you don't like that. Okay, so the traction is interesting. So I find I don't want to create more pressure here in the front of in my throat area. I want a little bit of squeezing to massage that area. So kind of notice what is the right amount of tone. And it's okay to sample movement just a little bit. Nothing where you're rolling your head at all or twisting, but slight little rocking motions is fine. That upper leg is reaching. Just kind of feel if the back is a little tight with this one today, you can always bring the bottom leg to bending and put the sole of the foot down and be minus the sand. It could just be kind of find what works for you in the moment. If something's not quite right, changing the movement of the lever, the lower lever, can help. I'm taking a few more breaths here. Okay, remember, we don't want to hyperextend the top leg at all. So you might have to purposely take a little just awareness moment here. Feel the knee bend, kind of check in. So it's a little bit of bending. Now hands hold onto the belt, slide it off the back of your head, relax your head all the way back to the blanket. And then take the belt into your right hand holds on, and you're going to cross the left leg over to the right. And feeling when you're pulling just the right amount of connection. So for some of us, it might be the knee bends a lot, okay? And it extends. So you might do a small little pumping motion. That feels really good to me. I can kind of feel it, kind of the referred sensation even up into my core, but a little tiny bit feels more comfy in my upper back. So all these connectors, some of us are fine with the leg semi-straight to the right. And bend the left knee. And then as you feel the resistance, keep the resistance with the hand holding the belt, even as the left knee points towards you. And then bring the right foot up into the belt, left leg exchange. Hold on with your left hand now, cross it over. And then the bottom leg can definitely bend. Yeah, that seems to be the most significant issue with people, is that they feel a little bit, not so great. It's not really that wonderful, but it's the bottom leg that are straightening out. So try to bend the bottom leg and give yourself the freedom to curve. Like when we had the ball between the knees and we were going side to side, what I was trying to help you with, influence you, is to let your ribs do some movement too. Don't just stick it all to the lower back to do the work. Feel this mid body. That's so good. It's the twisting part of the body. It's the steering wheel of the body, is the ribs, the thoracic vertebrae. It's beautifully connected, right? The thoracics to the ribs, and yep. Could spend a whole half hour on that whole topic, right? But here we are. I guess we kind of do in class. All right. So as we're in this crossover, we're going to be reflecting on this in a little while when we're off the bolster with the back and the sand and all those things. So just take the time as you bend the right knee and you come back in center. Bring the left knee to point up. Take the belt off your foot. And then as your knees draw towards your chest, take a ball and place it center of the knees. Okay? All right. Now, keep the knees bending, right? Don't straighten the legs out. Just keep the knees bending and squeeze the ball. And find what's about, I mean, it could be just like 70% of your most power for the pelvis. Just squeeze it, not to oblivion, but try to squeeze that ball a little bit. And then relax the squeeze so you're holding the ball with the leg muscles. You're keeping it, okay? That's all you have to commit to, okay? Now, knees towards the chest, and then carefully push the bolster away. Yeah, there's no reason to be fast on this. Slow go. And then your tailbone will be happier. Okay. Now, once you're on your back, it's like, oh, good. Now I'm not on the bolster. Now I get some change. Okay. So feet on bolster. You think it's horizontal. Who knows? Maybe it's a little bit turned, but your feet are down and you're going to press. And once you lift the hips up, you get to decide if the bolster is too close or not. Okay, mine's a little too close. So when I lift up, I want to be able to curve my back and roll under and lift the hips up and stretch the arms overhead. If the bolster is too close, it just seems to jam up. So you might have to push it away, but go a little at a time. So we're going to do drawbridge, go up and down the spine. And now, of course, the arms come down last, but when you're lifting, I want you to find just the right amount of squeezing that ball, okay? So if you're not super satisfied with the back sensation, you might squeeze the ball more, you might squeeze it less. I think probably less. And then lower down. Now feel when you lower down that you're just lightly holding onto the ball. So you have some energy in the pelvic floor, just the right amount, okay? Try it without the ball, maybe 2 drawbridges, and just see. And the knees point out probably a little bit, right? If the blanket's too high under your head, you'll be able to tell this was not as great of a massage on the spine. So you might go less blanket, okay? I mean, you gotta feel good from this. So might as well try all these things. See, try and then see if that glide going up and down. So this whole drawbridge movement, lifting and lowering, is like a special science. I feel like I'm still not quite perfect on this one, feeling good from it, but I'm getting there. So ball center of the knees, again, you might try it one more time. 1 or 2 more drawbridges, up and down. Okay, now kind of give some energy into that tailbone when you lower down, okay? It's kind of boring, right? When you lower down, that area doesn't have a lot of circulation and fluidic motion. And as you get older, it's less, right? So doing all these movements help generate that fluid, that connective, that all of that is what we're doing. So when you take the ball to the back of the pelvis, about the sacrum, then you're going to put the weight on it. That's really nice to do. And if you want, make all the padding go on top of that ball so it's even more comfy. And then you go side to side. Yeah, sometimes having like a little bit thicker padding can actually feel kind of good when you're rolling on the ball. Okay, so the ball, I love the softball because it's broad and sustained movement on the connective tissue. So when you're gliding, you're basically you're hydrating these areas, right? So when you glide across, you get to be the decider if you just land on the ball and do little movements. Some people like to lift their feet up and keep the elbows out like you got little T-Rex arms here, holding you, and just go small movement side to side. Yeah, I like them both. I think, if my back is a little challenged, I might want to make sure my feet are on the bolster. So I don't want anything to like suddenly cramp up in the back. So really try to get that ball. You can't kick the ball, but get it over to the edge of the glute, right? Over to the glute. You might even get lucky and be able to go from sacrum all the way across each glute zone, okay? So take the time to get across the glutes, and then we're going to just land on the ball, right on it, just central on the sacrum, so the base of the spine. Breathe. Okay, now let the left leg slide down. Okay, so my left foot, oh, I'm so lucky the blanket's still there, And then the right leg's going to draw in, and you're going to hold the back of the right thigh and try to stretch that right to the right side of the pelvis, the back side, the sacroiliac. So I'm kind of moving my hip a little to the left so I can get the ball so it's on that right side. Okay, you don't have to come up, but so it's about here. Right, so the ball is kind of pushing because we're going to go glute massage work, but you have the ball, the knee is in, and you're getting that nice little, it's basically getting some massage and circulation in there. We can call it just deep touch. Okay. DT for short. Okay. All right. So my ball, I still have it central in the sacrum, by the way, but when the knee goes in, I'm kind of, doing a little bit of a wag. And then I'm going to change sides. Yeah, I find that the part of this is that you do want to clutch the back of the thigh and pull the leg a little bit. Okay. And doing rocking is always a great idea because it's got this gentle kind of frequency right into the lymph. I think that's the nice part of just a little bit of rocking. A little bit of sacral rock. Okay, now bring the left foot down first, so it's easier on your back. Then the right foot back up to the bolster. Easy. And then move the ball to the right rear only. And then weight on the ball, and you're going to go across the glute on the right side. So just feel the movement of this is such an interesting, as time is going on, I'm finding this kind of interesting in my glute, how the back of the pelvis, the connector into the hip socket, this glide. Yeah, I'm getting more interested in researching the softer ball and the therapeutic benefit of a softer ball with the little knobbies on them, right? Because of the massage factor in it. So it doesn't need to hurt to get benefit with rolling, foam rolling or ball. You want to have that kind of broad, consistent stroke and glide on the surface of the muscle, right? So you're kind of diving into it. And if you decide it's too much or you find there's a knot, there's a little bit of tightness, you could kind of knead into that a little bit and just rock a little bit, or just keep with the consistent stroke, right? You can't miss out right on that pressure plus movement. Okay, now we go to side 2. So you might just lower down the tailbone, take the ball out from side 1, and then sneak it over to the second side without contracting your glute. Okay, so you push the ball in to the rear. So it's not up on the back, okay? But it's all connected, right? So as you swing side to side, massage into that left glute or the other side you didn't do already. And as you're pressing, right, find the connection of the feet because they kind of steer the movement on the ball, right? I mean, if you have the leg that's connected to the ball moving around just a little bit or lifting, you might find a different, you kind of get some value with the movement of the lower lever, okay? Extremities are kind of neat when they work. You also want to keep coordinating the movement of the extremities with the movement in the middle. You can overthink that one probably. So I like both feet down, I think. I'm kind of staying with that. That feels better. It's more secure. Secure attachment. Okay. Now we're going to glide across. And then as we go into the tailbone zone, we're going to push our bolster to the right side. So you don't need your blocks, but you could. Some people put a block under their bolster for this one. So let me show now. If you stretch the left leg over like this, and this is what you've always done, you might change it up sometimes. So what I'm enjoying sometimes is I just push my feet about hips distance, move my hips to the left, move my knees over, and sometimes I'll put the bolster between the knees, okay? So I'm kind of hugging the bolster, okay? And it's in the center, and it does feel kind of nice on my back, kind of like that. So This is a good one as well. It doesn't seem like it's as hip oriented, but it sure is. I think we just have this idea it has to feel so much, okay, to do something. But sometimes less is more, right? It's more generous and calming outcomes. So you can put the sand on the side of the thigh, and you might find, oh, that's just so easy, you know? So trying those new things is good. The arm is open, okay? And I've also seen this. I mean, I look through some old like yoga journals and see some of the Iyengar uh, chapters in there. They have whole segments of them. And you could even have both arms over if your shoulder is tight. I still think we should try to keep this open. It just, I mean, we want to savor this because there's so much rounding of our posture. So if this is okay, keep it open. If it's not, you can always bring your left arm across to the right if you're having a lot of stuff in the shoulder. Okay. You can also put the ball, up towards that left shoulder blade, and that feels pretty amazing too. Okay. Again, some of us aren't going to follow this bolster formula. We're going to have our leg over to the bolster because it's a more intense stretch, but you get to be the decider. Yeah, it's okay to take it easy. So take a few moments here and then just trace the spatial reach of the side of the torso. And just feel where that left arm is opening. If it's a little touch and go with the shoulder joint, you might just slide the arm down a little bit. And maybe let your head roll to the left. Or maybe to the right. They're both good, right? There's not saying that you have to go left with your head. Feel the abdomen move with the breath, the belly. And try to soften the back of the pelvis, especially when you're stretching it. So even if I'm clutching onto the bolster, it's kind of an interesting energy because I'm not trying to energize that squeezing. It already happens with the bolster between. Even if it's under your knee, it's your leg motion is having a little squeeze through the adductors, no matter what. So you don't have to overly activate those muscles and clamp down. Just use the props to support you. Okay? It's a constant practice in restorative is learning how to let them support you. Okay? We know how to do that with like a chair or a couch. We know how to let that hold us. So try to let the props hold you and they'll help the posture. Okay, now move the sand if you're using it. Okay, careful, right? I move the bolster because I have it center my knees and then I bring the knees to point up. And then I like a little windshield wiper, but with caution. So I take the feet about hips distance or a little wider, and then the knees go side to side. I sometimes like that the feet as wide as the mat instruction, but then I kind of wonder, is that like to exert more force on the joint? So you might want to just start with a little reservation about it, and then maybe you get a little freedom. It's always interesting on these lateral muscles, right? These lateral rotators. It's like, try to get them to reach without pushing a foot on them or kicking, or just get the movement glide. Okay, it's out of the pelvis, it's out of the ribs. Okay, and then take the bolster carefully over to side 2, and you're the decider. You might decide, okay, I like to bring my right leg on top of it. Okay, that's what we've done for a long time. It's definitely a good one. So if you're like just you subscribe to that channel in this pose, that's fine. I gotta admit, I think I prefer it. But I'm always reminded when I teach in person and someone comes in who's, 2 weeks out from delivering, and it's like, oh no, we can't do this on her. We can't do this pose. So the other one is really generous for back care. So if you have back stuff, this is good. And it's not going to be too much pressure in the belly, right? So this is what we would teach, right? So nice, okay? But this would not be what we teach with that because we don't want the twist, right? So just know this kind of comes from trainings with like conditions, could be a conditioned back surgery. Well, this is what we're going to do. So, noticing some of these things are important to try, and you might try them on, try the pose on and say, oh, I like this without the sand, or I like this with the sand. So giving it a try. This side feels a lot better than the other side for me on this one. For whatever reason, I'm really liking this. The other side was a little bit, not so sold. So noticing the areas of your body that why they react better on one side to the next. Likely we're a little cattywampus, right? We're a little lopsided. So doing the good things with breathing well. Okay, feeling it slow down. One side, the breath might be easier to slow down than the other. You got different organs on each side. They're energized differently from one stretch to the next. And then as you might close your eyes, just tune into what's holding, right? Well, I got a bolster I'm holding on to, but is what's going on with the groins, right? Can you find a way to relax a little bit? Maybe it's the heart. Maybe it's your head rolling to the side. And those of us that this is safe for the belly, for the spine, work the ribs a little bit. These always can get more, just more circulation and energetic movement in these shapes. So we recruit the ribs, okay? Unless you got a rib out or, you've got, one of those, vertebrae attached is really sensitive or wedging a lot. These are always really interesting things to work on because the front space that's all attached to the spine, right, likely, maybe have the ball at the back of the pelvis, can respond really well to your breath because those are breathing muscles, but it all connects to the spine. So just notice as you in breath and you out breath. That's life. The in and out breathers. Here we are. I'm now taking a few more moments here. Okay, now as we take the ball aside, if it's even touching, right, the sand. And I want us to just keep in that rolling mode, right? So we're going to work on that back flexion extension coming out of this, especially the extension, because it hasn't had a whole lot of that except for bridge pose, right? So as you roll, if you got the bolster there, you'd probably be able to roll towards it, but I would move it aside and kind of push it back towards your head. And then as you roll to the side, take your time to kind of go to that curl and come back up. And then take your blanket. I'd say fold it, unroll it, fold it so you have a nice little height for your knees. And then you're just going to turn and place the blanket under the knees. Okay. And I like the wall under my feet, my feet. I like my feet touching the wall a lot. And so if you're not at the wall, it's fine. Okay. But if you have a wall, I would say use it to give you some feedback. Okay. So bolster here. Okay, now I imagine if your bolster is lengthwise and you come straight down on it, okay, you can start to feel that well, it's tummy time work, it's baby back bends. But when you lower down, okay, noticing right when the glutes wake up, it's like, oh, I felt that just almost when I came down. I was like, oh, my right glute kind of gripped. So when you lower down into Sphinx pose, my bolster is pretty far down on my legs. Some of us don't prefer that, but I think if your bolster is too far up, it will cause a little more pressure in your back. Okay, so I would have it pretty far down, but we're all different lengths, right? This is one of the benefits of being short. Yep, bolstering is a little easier. Okay, I get more of it on me, right? More of it covers me. So when I come down or I'm on it, I cover it more. Um, it supports a lot of me. So when I'm lowering down my elbows, try to let the legs separate enough and touch the wall a little bit so the elbows are down and you're in Sphinx pose and you're lifting your head a little bit. Please don't roll your neck or your anything like that. Try just to do a little lift. And then I want you to lower the chest down and slide the hands back so they're basically straight under shoulders. Lift up the chin a little bit. Bring your arms back besides your hips, palms facing in. Breathe in, lifting your head a little bit. And then exhale down. Blanket under your elbows. Elbows wide. And forehead down onto the hands. Okay, now if you don't like to put your head onto your hands, some people just don't. I have my arms crossed a little bit more, so it's like my hands are kind of touching towards my elbows. Okay, I kind of like that right now. I like the stretch in my shoulders, and you sometimes forget about shoulder work when you're prone. I think sometimes this is a place we just don't think about working our back and our shoulders as often. Okay, all right, now you're like, I want to take a nap. Okay, grab your belt. Okay. If you need more support under your forehead, I would just fold your blanket up one more and have your forehead on it. Okay. Okay. So your neck is not tightening as much here. Okay. Now take a belt. Okay. I'm not going to mumble into the floor, but I will turn my head, but you don't have to. So trust that we're just going to put the belt behind, and mine is way too long for me to do this. So just hold the belt so it's around I would say kind of the eyebrows of the buttock area, but it could be resting on your rear, okay? And then you're gonna hold the belt and stretch the arms back and just stretch them back and down. Don't try to jerk the shoulders too much here. Shoulders are back and down, palms face towards the floor, okay? Shoulders back and down. It's a tricky one. It's a kind of foreign, right? Okay. Now we're going to kind of cycle through this. So let go of the belt entirely. Okay. Elbows down. Come into Sphinx pose. Lift your head. Breathe. Okay. We're going to cycle between those two. Okay. So just two things. Forehead down. I'm going to make my blanket a little higher here. Forehead down. Okay. You could put a block under your blanket too. Block under blanket makes it easier. And then you're going to hold, and remember, it's palms towards the floor, shoulders back and down, okay? And just lift. So I'm stretching down. Okay, I'm not trying to bring the arms up towards the ceiling, just down and a little up, okay? All right, now let go of the belt. Slide the hands on the mat, elbows down, lifting up your head. Okay, so it's a little bit of jockeying sensation through the shoulders. I think it's pretty interesting. Slide the hands back into the shoulders and then lift your head. Push into up dog. Ooh, that's interesting on the shoulder. Pressing down into your palms. Breathe. Feel the arch. Okay. All right, now let's come back to table. And you probably got this belt just around your back. Just push it aside. It's not important now. Okay, we could do some fun things with it, but let's keep it simple. Hands under shoulders or elbows on blocks if you find this is too much on your wrist. And round your back, chin to chest. And arch the spine. Really get this fluid movement between the spine. The feet are quite far out. If you have your feet really close in, try to move the knees out a little bit. Feet touch the wall, or the toes are under in the middle of the room without the wall. But feel how you charge out of rounding the back to extending the back. Like you can do it, right? If you feel that motion of the abdominals moving in and up, and then as you move the abdominals down and back with the hips, okay? All right, now coming into a little bit of an inversion. So you get to be the decider. If you push into your palms, you lift the knees up, you have the heels up at the wall. You don't have to walk your feet up the wall, okay? Just the heels are on the ledge so that you can get your rear up to stretch out your back. Okay, now if this ain't working, you're like, I can do an inversion, but not with my hands on the floor right now. Then you walk your feet a little bit away from the wall and you come back. And we all are going to end up here anyway, right? So at some point you're going to walk back. But I want you to try to keep the heels down, by the way. When you come back, don't keep the heels up. You want to try to get your seat high to stretch out the back, okay? So what I'm doing is I kind of feel the balls of my feet pushing and my hips up. Now, if you want to stay in down dog, be my guest, right? Stay in down dog. But I think you can put these two together interesting with a wall because you're trying to lift your hips up. Okay, so for me, this feels really different like this than like this in the middle of the room for my spine. Yeah, I have enough spine stuff to go, yeah, that's different. I feel the energy between it different. It's different. This feels more, number one, it's contact. So I have a place to have some resistance. Okay. So now if you have the weight of your head, which is, pretty heavy. I mean, you pick up 10, 12 pounds. That's what it is, right? So let your head go and breathe. Right? You can hold your elbows. You can sway a little side to side, but sometimes kind of virtual stillness. I know that's what happens when people's screen freezes, right? Virtual stillness. So just feeling where that, and there's kind of an interesting energy that's going into into the ear, into the face, in towards the eyes. There's a lot that happens when you go upside down internally in your sensory organs. So give yourself a little time. And if you need to come out, you can always come out. There's no rules, right? If you need to come up, go slow, right? Because your blood pressure. And then take a few breaths and maybe shift back down. Okay, now let's walk on forward to crawling is what I call this one. And then bring your feet back. And then lower down. We're going to do one more now. You can have your blanket under your knees this time or not. You can try without it and see if it's different. And the knees are wide. And you lower down. So you're not straddling the bolster. My knees are not on the sides of the bolster. It's kind of a no-no for knees. I mean, as you learn as you get older. I mean, people still do that all the time, but if you got not so happy knees, not a great idea. So lower down and feel right before you commit to put your elbows down like, oh, yeah, I have a little strength along my sides of my spine, and I'm going to work on this. So this is your tummy time moment where you're trying to get the chest to lift a little. You have your elbows by your sides. You're breathing. So you have this kind of vibration plate already with your heart and the bolster right there. That is one, right? It's your percussionist of your body. Okay, and the navel and the pulse there, you can feel that. Okay, now if you breathe into the belly, you almost can feel this hip area kind of push back. So try as you come out of this one, elbows by the sides, chin towards the chest just to come up, and then gently move the chin forward and just a little bit up. Just a little bit, working on the cervical vertebrae and just that awareness of your hands pushing the floor away. Okay. Now, if you need to put your elbows on blocks, or you can bring the hands into a fist. Okay. And then come back through table. Okay. And we're going to turn our bolster across Okay, take one more up dog. Now, if this is too much, elbows on the blocks, but we're trying to get as much contour in the hip flexors, the waist, the spine. Okay, and then back to table, and then shift onto your left hip and start to come into side sage. Oh, yay. Okay, this is good. Now let's do a little rib roll first, though. We didn't do any rib rolling. I don't think we did. Okay, so a couple blankets. Okay, on in stacks. I would just say stack them up. Don't just throw blankets. Stack them up, fold them. So they're about the height of your bolster. They actually appear higher, but once I'm on them, they're going to swish down. And then I'm going to add my ball. I'll get all the other stuff in a moment, I guess. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move this over. Okay. So ball at my ribs. Now I'm going to turn to the side. So my legs are stacked. And I got the ball at the rib cage, and I'm going to lower my elbow down. Okay. So for all that stuff we were doing, kind of narrowing with the core, other times we do this rib roll, it probably feels different than this one because we were narrowing. So if it feels like, gosh, this is kind of a big ball stuck on my ribs, it's probably because we were narrowing. So when you turn, the arm opens and you're just rolling in the rib area. So turning, opening, and rolling. So feel the left arm on the floor. It's kind of hugging the bolster a little bit. So kind of notice that. You might even bring your arm up and just go, okay, is my left arm kind of pushing a little bit into the bolster? And then when I'm turning, it's almost as if I'm trying to turn my heart towards the bolster. And then open. And just breathing. Give it a few, about a minute at the most, just to kind of tease that circulation into the breathing muscles. Okay, now, and I kind of like this one. You can just kind of glide your arm back and just feel the shoulder, the arm. Okay, now we're going to bring the knees in closer to the bolster, and then we're going to take the ball out and place it under the right inner knee, and then I need a block overhead. Okay, we're good. Maybe I'll use one. So block overhead. Sometimes I let the arm not have an attachment to anything, but I focus on this midsection. So we're going to take our sand and we're going to move it up and over to our right hip. And then when we lean in, the right arm stretches over, or it stretches open the chest. This is a good moment to kind of entertain. Now that we've done spine work, we're back revolving to the ribs and the chest. Kind of feel this container above the spots above the pelvis. The pelvis is kind of the main container, the container of everything. But then above, right, this is that container for breathing muscles. So you decide, do you want to touch down with a hand, or are you good? The left leg needs to be pretty close to the bolster to ease your back. And even closing your eyes. And just sensing what is right for your shoulder. And if you go too far overhead, it just pinches in any corners of it. It's one thing if it's muscle engagement. So part of living in a body is like to care for it might be, okay, I think that's a little too much. You can open out the chest and you can feel the engagement of the muscles. It's really good to get the muscles pulling on the bone, right, for the bone structure. Try to get them to pull a little bit, strengthening. And then lower down the right arm, kind of feel that rotation. And then I find that I try to blend these two. I love blending the sage poses. Okay. So you could keep the sand on your left thigh. Sometimes I teach it like this. I just Let the hand drop to my left thigh. Okay, the only thing is I don't want this back leg, the right leg, to get too much pressure. So I use my hand on the bolster to come up. Then I get rid of the ball, because that lifting of it when you twist is not a great idea. It's going to just pull on the knee. So I'm going to let my right thigh rest on my left foot. And I'm just going to turn the bolster up on top of either two blankets like this, and then you can lower down and rest on it, or I prefer blanket on top of the bolster, one under and one on top. So I have a nice little contour for my neck. Okay, little bit. It's a little bit of a, because I don't, this area, in this area, these are different curves in them. So if I just decide the bolster is enough, it's probably not enough for those curves. So as you turn, I kind of feel how you mold onto the props, all of them, right? So all the props are supporting you. If there's something that bugs you, like the sandbag, you don't want to use it, don't use it. It's okay. Let the chest relax down. And then give yourself the time to just merge into the props. And was it merging with props or is it poses? What are we doing? So settling the pace of the heart. Just feel the weight of the chest. And the body, noticing that you can make a direction with the body parts that makes it easier to massage areas, right? So if I have a little twist, massaging into the organs. Okay, slide the hands back, push, and then go to side 2. Try to deliver A to B here slowly. Take the bolster, turn it across, rotate to side 2. I have my legs kind of stacked together on this one, but I do feel like this is the time to get that sandbag across. Okay, so ball to the ribs. Now, be sure that you have about the same, you probably won't mistake the second side, something different on the second side, but the elbows on the floor, right? That's key. If it's too much for your sensitivity, then maybe it's up. Maybe this is better for some of us. So, or you put a blanket under your elbow. So if it's really sensitive in your breathing muscles, you want to try to get them pretty durable here, right? Long-lasting breathing muscles, and then roll across. So I'm not getting a whole lot of surface touch with the ball, but I'm getting movement with my ribs. I'm getting some touch, right? The ball is pushing in. I'm just giving all my weight into it. Right? The more you can push into actually, I don't want to say you should aggressively push into the ball like, you're just your weight on the ball and then the movement. So motion, sensor in the ribs. What's your rib motion sensor? Yeah, and you'll find the way to move your head. Now, some people, I'll find them do this, they'll put their head in their hand. It's not a bad way to go with this. It's a little more subtle, isn't it? So, right, gentle is the new advanced. I love that line. Just keep it gentle. So if head in your hand is better, then that's what you do. Okay, now we're going to come Left leg stretches back a little bit. My right thigh is right up against it and close. Ball is under the knee. Lean in and take your sand to the left, I would say hip, because you want weight bearing on the hip. But some people like to place the sand on the sides. People really like this. This is more soothing. Okay, it's also weight training for the breathing muscles, right? So they both have benefit, but you need to have the blanket high enough so that the neck isn't tightening more, right? So if you're feeling like you're trying to hold your head up, you bring the blanket height more, just lift it up, elevate, and then maybe that left arm is overhead. You know, it might be the side that works for you. Try to get something balanced, like go for equilibrium here. So if you have it completely different on the second side with the arm reach, maybe not a good plan. Okay, so feel the movement across the armpit chest, in the front, and the blade in the back. And just maybe feel the arm reaching, feel the shoulder moving back. You know, this pose has a little bit of effort, right? It's not all effortless, especially with the arm. So it's okay to take some time to let that arm relax and find a little more nervous system, you know, cool down, basically. That's kind of where we're going. I know, generally speaking, we're trying to have a nice kind of rhythm and flow with the nervous system with this class, but the truth is we are kind of going towards that cool down, right? So take the time to notice how you're leaning into your props and then try to relax into them. Try to relax into the props. Okay, make that rotation occur slowly. So you move the sand. I'm just going to move it down to my right thigh. The thigh's turned out, so it's kind of inner thigh. Yeah, it's kind of nice to have that because we don't get a lot of that touch to that zone, right? Those nodes, right? So just a little bit of constant touch and a little bit of pressure. So then when I lean into the right side, right, I'm trying to turn through my ribs. So I'm going to come up, and then I'm moving the ball, and then my left leg rests to my right foot, and then I just rotate. Okay, so these slow motions in these shapes, sloth slow, almost sloth slow. I mean, we can see us moving in this one, but as you're turning, you know, feel sacrum, sacroiliac is moving gently towards this. So you want to be careful here. This is a joint of stability. So you can feel the curve, but what's moving is the ribs to take the twist. Okay. So if you get pinched there, move your hip a little bit back so you're not so close to the bolster if it feels pinchy. Okay. And as I lower down, you know, keep in mind you got different organs on this side. You got a big old liver on this side. So you're trying to get a little bit of pressure. Twisted liver. Okay. So lower down, circulation, and head turns to the left. You know, if you have doubt and it's not feeling right, you got to get out. If you have doubt, you get out. Okay. If you're like, this ain't feeling right today. Sometimes knees together is better. I see some people in this Just depends. I mean, you might have changes, every few days in your spine or what have you, feelings in it. Some people do this, they'll have their knees together like this and put the sand on the side of the thigh, or no sand, right? So if you just feel like one side, it could be how you are connected to the bolster. Right, remember, you don't want to be like all attached with your hip. You got to have the curve with the knee. And then I'll be quiet so you can be in your pose. Okay, so feel where the breath is in the front space of the abdominals. And just imagine it going through the body, right? So the vibration goes through the body as you breathe, especially when you're pushing into something. Okay, nice work. So coming on up, or nice relaxation. Take the blanket off. And now let's set up for our final pose. So we're going to move the bolster to the wall, or you're going to build a bolster bench. They're both fine. I would say sometimes bolster benching is great, right? So you don't have to get your legs up the wall, but some of us find such relief from that. We're just going to bring our legs to the wall. So bolster benchers, right? You put the blocks under the bolster, you're in the middle of the room, your legs go up, okay? Legs up the wall. And also, you might bring another blanket towards to you if you want to put it over you, or an eye pillow over your eyes. And then sit with your rear close to the wall for those legs up the wall, and then bring the legs up. Okay, or the legs upside down. Okay, well that makes sense. Legs up is upside down for anyway. Anyway, we go. And if we're lifting our hips, I'm going to move my bolster a tad away from the wall and feel my seat towards the wall and kind of feel that little, it's a tiny gap, but I think I prefer that for my ribs. So you be the decider. Now, if your legs are up right over the bolster bench, right, that's a little bit easier task for the back, right? You just let it relax, okay? You don't have to navigate this whole elevation game, this whole inversion game. So take your sand, if you have that, you're going to either place it if your legs are up the wall at your feet or your belly. Okay, if you're on bolster bench, you'd have it from your heart to your belly. Okay, or your belly or your shins. Yeah, bolster bench, you kind of have some more options, I think, with the sand. Um, so when the legs lift up, there is also that arch through the spine occurring. So feel that wave of energy that goes, and the sand sometimes interrupts me too much for that wave feeling. Sometimes I decide, the sand just doesn't work for me every time. It's like 50-50 with sand. Okay. So as I release down into my tailbone, okay, or for those of us bolster bench through the spine, which we all hopefully will stretch back through. Again, if you have another blanket, maybe place it over. Yeah, some people place their blanket over their eyes, right, like so. Make a little tent, right? Sometimes you can kind of create something here like that. I kind of find that funny, but up to you. Or just be without anything over you or over your head, and let your elbows open out and just receive this whole practice. You might have a memory bank of what we did. You might be luckily not going through all of that, and just letting yourself receive this breath into the next. And feel that continuation, scanning the body for movement, for letting go. You might just feel the chest is open, the shoulders are back, the spine is long. And feel the hips how they are in your frame, because generally we live with the legs below, we walk on our feet all the time, we push over and over day after day. And the pelvis also has these postural challenges. So feel it without that challenge right now. Just feel it as a good pelvis, right? It's just centered gravity, right? It's the center of gravity for us, is our pelvis. And now when you press into the tailbone, you're going to move the legs away from the wall. If you're on bolster bench, just keep relaxing your legs on the bolster bench. A few more moments. Okay, now bending your knees if your legs are up, and then removing the sand. Yeah, this is a good way to work on squats in general, just to find how you load your glutes and your careful work around not hurting the knees. I always find this to be really a good way to kind of feel this circulation with the sand, sometimes. Okay, feel how the pelvis has this nice elongation sensation into the spine. Or is it the spine into the pelvis? I think it's the spine first, but pelvis maybe. Okay, now roll to the side and let your hands help push you up. If you're in bolster bench, take the sand off your core and come around to sit. It's really nice to sit on your bolster bench with your blocks under it too. Knees open, and then roll the shoulders for a few moments. And find that united focus, the palms together or the hands over the heart center. And just a slow breath together, breathing in wellness.